Welcome back to Confluent Conversations. Today I have a very special guest. I've known him for about 3 years, and it's Diego from BLN, British Latino Network.
Yeah.
So how you been, Diego?
I've been good, Juan. Thank you for inviting me. How have you been?
Not too bad, bro. Not too bad. We were just speaking earlier about this, and we started talking before just when the pandemic hit. You started the British Latino Network.
Yeah.
You have a podcast.
Yeah.
Where did that idea sort of come from?
The podcast or the British Latino Network?
The British Latino
The
Network.
British Latino Network.
Yeah.
It started it initially started when I was at uni.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason was because when you're sort of starting your degree, you're sort of sold an idea of between your second and third year, you can go and do like a year out industry placement, which sounds amazing. The only issue is that when you actually then look for the placement, there's no connections. And I remember that time I was realizing that there was a lot of like networking opportunities for other communities that were great, but there was nothing for Latino sort of students. And for me, that was a bit of an issue because didn't really know anyone in the industry I was interested in. So at that point, it sort of became like a bit of a side mission in my mind. Like this is something that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. Once I actually graduated, that's when I sort of put my effort into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think when I saw that sort of be created, I didn't really see it as that. But more of I saw it more of like the middleman between Latinos and employment. Más que todo.
Yeah.
In the sense of actually Latinos can do this. Usted sabe que los Latinos siempre han tenido la fama de cleaners, de, doing the dirty work. Porque somos los inmigrantes que hacemos todo por un poquito menos.
Sí.
But I think when I saw that, I was like, actually, I don't know many gente que es abogada y latina, que es, dueño de un restaurante y latina, que sea podcaster y latino. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, actually, that's got me interested in meeting more people. Por ejemplo, ahí conocí a Claudia.
Claudia Adler.
Yeah, and we became really good friends through that. And actually, there's a lot of Latinos that are doing bits and no sabe porque they don't really show themselves or they don't have that sort of spotlight.
Sí, no, claro. O sea, hay dos cosas, ¿no? So, dos factores que son accesibilidad a las oportunidades and the other one is visibility. Right? So accessibility was one of the key things that I sort of experienced myself, which was like, I want to do this. I have the talent, maybe I have the knowledge, but I have no one to ask for an opportunity. Every time I'm applying for a job, they're like, well, where's your experience? And I'm trying to build the experience, but I don't have it. So that was one part, the accessibility to opportunities. Then the other thing is visibility. If there's no visibility of role models, of people that are in your community, like you said, restaurant owners, business owners, people who perhaps work in finance, in academia, it's not that it's impossible for you to go down those roads, but it's harder because you don't have that role model, you don't have that example that sort of shows it to be possible. So now you've got two issues. You've got the issue of that even if you believe, you can't access the opportunity. But secondly, it becomes even harder for you to believe because you don't see anyone being able to do it. So that was the whole idea why we sort of started the British Latino Network. And I think it's interesting that you said your perception because of how you sort of viewed it. It's quite interesting because when I started it as well, that was sort of, initially it was going to be like a sort of like an idea of let's like get together and discuss topics and sort of like discussion groups. But after I was thinking, I'm like, that's not really the key issue here. The thing that people need is to know each other and be able to connect and network. And so for me, it kind of made it easy as well because then I sort of removed myself. Do you get what I'm saying? I didn't have to be sort of the person who was at the front of it. I just sort of removed myself and tried to create a platform where people would want it. So that's sort of what I did. So it was interesting that you perceived it that way, because that was sort of what I was also hoping the perception to be. Yeah.
But I also think that you started something, porque I'm going to name two people that started after you, which is me and Erica.
Yeah.
That there's something very similar to you, pero usted empezó eso, usted empezó ese movimiento. And I think, I don't know about Erica, but for me, siempre era de conocer la gente, the struggles, para que la gente no pensara que la vida es fácil. Because it isn't.
Yeah.
Everyone has a struggle, everyone has mental health, everyone sort of like just doesn't know how hard life is.
Yeah.
So when I saw your movement, I was like, oh, actually, let me try. Y fue cuando yo hablé con Joanne, and I was like, hey, Joanne, I want to start doing IG lives and seeing what I can do.
Yeah.
But I think you were a big inspiration with the BLN. I didn't know much about the mentorship program. I didn't think I was ready then.
Yeah.
Pero you were a big part of that, and I don't think you realize how much of an impact you made by creating that.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I appreciate the feedback and the sentiment about it. Like, to be honest, if I'm frank, like with what you're saying as well, I don't think like I also realized sort of the impact they actually had. You know, I know the impact they had in the sense of through the mentoring program, which is like, it's powered literally by amazing mentors that we have, one of which is Claudia, and so many other people who are also on the mentoring program that make it possible, right? So through that, I could see the impact because I saw people being able to apply to university, to jobs. But in terms of an actual movement in itself, I don't feel like I've actually understood that much in that sense. So I appreciate it. And you know, like I said, we've sort of been talking back and forth for a while.
Definitely.
And I also was able to be a guest on Erica's channel, which was amazing as well. So I think our sentiment, maybe we have different ways of how we're doing it, but our sort of overarching mission is, you know, to sort of have these conversations because it's important to be able to speak to people and to get that visibility out. So
100%. O sea, yo cuando, I didn't really watch much of your podcast because I didn't really realize it was out. Pero, o sea, yo vi the post that you were doing and this is our mentors, this is what we do. I saw the website that you had, the platform.
Yeah.
I signed up immediately. I loved it. Pero, o sea, yo creo que lo que usted hizo con esa plataforma, it was like, ¿cómo le digo? It was like a Facebook que digamos, pero you could connect with actual professionals. It wasn't so much like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Porque por lo menos los profesionales contestan and they post. But I think you started a movement, and I think we all sort of followed and were like, oh, actually, I want to do this as well, but in our own little way. So Erica has her guests.
Of course, yeah.
I used to have my guest, which is now on the podcast.
Yeah.
You now starting up the podcast again.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. I'm honestly excited to see what happens next for that podcast.
Yeah, no, I think like generally the next portion of like what happens with the BLN is going to be quite interesting.
Okay.
So even from my aspect in terms of the vision I've got for it, it's still the same. The things that are changing is sort of how it's going to be done. Like core aspect is going to still remain being the podcast. And the platform will remain also an aspect of it that's important as well. I think maybe the way I'm sort of thinking about putting it out is going to be a bit different to before, but it will still feel that need that is there. So I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think some of the issues we've sort of had lately has been just upscaling the BLN because it kind of grew pretty quickly, to be honest. Like I remember when we started, it was maybe like a couple 100 followers, and then it went pretty quickly into the thousands. And so it was kind of hard to be able to respond to that adequately within a short period of time. And then also with all the actual life demands like study, work, and also time and cost as well. So it's required a bit of an adjustment, but I think the next portion is going to be interesting, and the podcast as well. Yeah,
definitely, bro.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
How different is it going to be now it's in real life? O sea, usted empezó con esto en la pandemia.
Yeah.
Through COVID, it was all tech and Zooms. How different is it going to be now?
Yeah, I think it will definitely be more interactive. It will be more interactive. I think the opportunities for networking will be better. And then also I feel like the sense of belonging will also be better.
Okay.
Porque la cosa es que, o sea, tiene muchos beneficios uno estar por online, ¿no? Es más accesible, es rápido, it's cheap as well because you can sort of just log on and that's it, right? So that's perfect. But obviously, uno estar en persona puede tener la oportunidad de realmente fomentar esas conexiones. Y esa es la diferencia. Yo creo que haciéndolo en persona, eso va a ser muy diferente. Entonces, sí, yo creo que va a ser más divertido, más interactivo, pero va a haber más oportunidad to like really feel like there's a community. Because ahora yo los veo. It's not like I'm just on a screen. Now I can see them, I can say hi to them, I can meet them. So that's the plan. That's the plan, yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what you do with BLN. I'm excited to see qué va a pasar en el futuro. Because I was saying to you earlier, después de la pandemia, BLN sort of quieting down a little bit.
Yeah.
Porque yo no volvía. I think I saw a few posts, pero no era like post. Era like post here and there. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Pero creo que lo que más me excita en este momento es la oportunidad de conocer a los profesionales. O sea, gente como Claudia, gente como Dulcinea, who actually had her sister on a couple of months back. Pero poder hablar con esos profesionales y decirles, por decir yo que tengo un disability, ¿qué oportunidades hay? Because for people like me, the opportunities are very limited. So I've had to create my own opportunities. Y es más difícil cuando es you have a disability, pero es latino a la vez. Uno como que
okay,
you don't really have like a space. I don't know if it's just me or if all the Latinos feel like this, pero o sea, para mí, I felt like I've had to create my own opportunities, and it's always been my mentality of actually, yo porque voy a esperar una oportunidad que no va a llegar cuando la puedo crear. Pero como usted dijo, there isn't a middleman that says actually there are opportunities. You just got to really do the digging. You've got to know people. You've got to know the connections.
Yeah.
Pero eso honestamente no existe.
Sí. Sí, bueno, yo creo que dos cosas, ¿no? First thing es que primero creo que felicitarte, ¿no? Por el sentir de que crear eso. You know, I'm similar to you like that. So, because if I don't see an opportunity, no me voy a quedar sentado. Y just, who's going to give me the opportunity? Hay que crearlo. So I think that's very important because eso se llama innovar. That's to innovate. You're creating a space que algo no había antes. And then look, now people, it's materialized.
Yeah.
People come onto your podcast. You know, that will also lead to other opportunities. And I think similar to you, that's sort of where the BLN also, what was the incentive for it. Y segundo, el punto sobre las faltas de networking. Yeah, that's a massive issue. And I think obviously for many immigrant communities, especially first generation, but obviously to make it specific to us as Latinos, our experience is our experience. We know, you know, que son los problemas que pasamos, the true barriers que hay. You know, you could be smart, you could be educated, but if perhaps you speak with an accent, de una cleaner. Y no es que eso sea malo, no, eso no es que sea malo, porque eso, you know, at least for us, for my family, that's what put us through school, put us everything. Eso nos permitió estar, ¿no? Pero también hay un aspecto que es el talento, the potential talent that's there. And the talent that's there is not being it's not being put to use because there's no opportunities there. And, there's a lot of accessibility schemes que es perfecto. Great que haya, esquemas para gente con diferentes necesidades. Pero los latinos, what's going to happen with us then? Because until people realize it, ya puede pasar 1, 2 generaciones, y ha pasado. There's already been 1, 2 generations that had the talent, but there was no opportunity, and they just unfortunately had to suffer the consequences of that, or try and find their own space. So I think, it's definitely important to have those opportunities and know people, because you realize, talent is important, but it also becomes a thing of who you know as well.
Yeah.
And you need to know someone to give you that opportunity for you to learn,
Pero, I'm going to counter that a little bit. Y voy a decir que you also have to make the effort to find those people.
Yeah.
You can't expect to meet people without making the effort of saying hi.
Yeah.
And again, if I go back to 2020, when I reached out to a friend of mine, that was sort of my step in my first steps and my foot in the door. Porque yo antes no era social, yo antes era callado. I would watch, pero no decía nada. I wouldn't do an IG live, I wouldn't do a podcast. I was very introverted. Yo sabía que podía hacer cosas. I knew what I could do.
Yeah.
In terms of writing, in terms of not so much speaking, but definitely writing, and I knew that I had potential for that. Pero si uno no hace el intento or makes that effort, then the opportunities won't come either. So it is a balance of, actually, I want to network, but I'm going to have to find that network. I'm going to have to find that opportunity to put my foot in the door and be like, actually, I'm here.
Yeah.
Y gracias a Dios, yo hice eso cuando lo hice.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people did in la pandemia. Crearon sus negocios, hicieron sus small businesses, empezaron a emprender, empezaron a hacer su platica. Pero desafortunadamente, and this isn't me shaming anyone, porque los entiendo, and we've gone back to somewhat a normality, pero esos emprendimientos que ustedes empezaron, some of you have stopped. And I get some of you are doing other things, some of you are focusing on families and doing what you want to do in your businesses. Pero esos emprendimientos que ustedes hicieron should have been the start of something bigger. Pero, again, that's just my opinion. Para mí, yo puedo lo conocí a usted, conocí a Joan, a Erika, a Luch, y todo fue porque yo dije, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna put my foot in the door and try and make something of myself. O sea que para mí, mi opinión es, yes, there needs to be more action from the community, pero también tiene que haber acción de su parte y buscar esas oportunidades. You can't expect people to hand them to you.
No, o sea, creo que es una parte muy importante. Yes, like you said, the community, creating platforms, that's very important. But ultimately, it's the individual. The individual decides what steps they take, how much effort they put. And so there's also sort of a call to accountability in that sense as well, because you can, as much as it is a challenge, because there's a lot of barriers, o sea, no es negar que sí hay problemas, que sí hay limitaciones, es verdad, o sea, eso no es, o sea, es una realidad. Por ejemplo, uno estudiando en la escuela, sometimes you don't even have an idea of what is actually the school pathway, because typically children here, who they can ask is their parents, porque pasaron la escuela aquí. Pero uno está in year 3, year 4, you don't even know what's to lie ahead. And your parents don't know either, because first, ni hablan no hablan inglés, and they're not aware of it. So, claro, eso va a crear problemas porque no hay un entendimiento de qué es el proceso of, and that's just the educational example. But you can only blame that system, those barriers, to an extent. No es negar, pero there's also a thing of accountability. What am I now going to do with my life?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, si usted se deja llevar, that's it. That's it. You're not going to have an opportunity to come back. So when you're young or whenever you can, you have to make a decision to put that effort in.
I slightly disagree with you in the sense of the employment version.
Okay.
And the reason is, si yo miro mi prima she draws beautifully, artista, and she studied in college. Pero ella cuando last year she decided not to go uni.
Okay.
And something that we spoke about a lot was, I don't know what I want to do.
Okay.
And for me, when I went to uni, I was pushed into it by my parents. Yo no tuve opción. Sí tuve opción. My options were either work or go to uni. And I decided to go uni out of pure laziness.
Yeah.
Pero algo que me parece muy madura de la parte de mi prima is que she went, actually, why am I going to get myself into debt? Why am I going to go to uni and study something and then drop out a year later if I don't like it or if it's not for me? Why am I going to go into something just because I think I'll like it? I'd rather go in later and when I'm more decided. O sea que esa parte de ella me pareció muy madura. So I think, yes, you can be young and make the decisions, pero yo creo que you should have all the cards on the table until the hacer ese, pick out that option.
Yeah.
Por ejemplo, yo, I love science and I loved business, and I went for the business side, but business was just the money side for me. That was it. I think if I had gone into science, because I wanted to do forensic science initially, de pronto me hubiera gustado más, de pronto me hubiera ido mejor. I was lazy at uni, pero también me gustó mucho las oportunidades que se me vinieron.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can say I regret going to uni.
No, of course. I think so. The point I was making is it's not necessarily the age. What I'm trying to say is that wherever stage you're at, is that there is a sense of accountability, because that was the initial point. Remember, we were talking about, obviously we can sort of blame or sort of take in consideration the factors that affect us, which is true, right?
Yes.
But my point was that whatever situation you're in, like you also said, there's a sense of individual responsibility también. Because we were talking about the effort of getting out there, saying hello to people, putting your foot in the door, like you said. And that's what I'm saying. So be it in education, be it in business, be it in whatever outlet you want, the principles are the same, ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
The principles are the same. If you get your foot in the door, if you're proactive, if you work hard, and if you sort of you work for it, then it will go well. So that's more so that was my point. But yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Eso es con todo now,
Yeah.
O sea, no es solo the networking side, eso es con absolutamente todo.
Yeah.
And you got to remember que si una oportunidad no es de edad o no es para uno, there's always going to be other opportunities. And the thing I think a lot of people think is, oh my God, se me fue esa oportunidad, no va a haber más. And I hear it a lot, like, why didn't I grab that opportunity? Why didn't I do this? A veces usted puede ir por esas oportunidades and you can make that effort, pero acuérdese, si una oportunidad no es para usted, pero va a haber más.
Yeah.
Don't suffer for that one opportunity that that didn't come to you.
Yeah.
Por ejemplo, if I had messaged my friend in 2020 and she hadn't replied, the worst thing that would have happened was I wouldn't be in the Latin community. And that's okay, because maybe it wasn't for me at the time. Or maybe that friendship wasn't meant to be, or maybe I would have met you or Juan.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely fine, porque de pronto en ese momento no era para mí, and another opportunity would have come for me to realize, actually, okay, I can do something else. Pero yo soy agradecido que sí fue para mí esa oportunidad en ese momento.
Sí.
And I think that's something that a lot of people as well just get wrapped around. They're like, no agarré esa oportunidad, no hice esto, no hice aquello. Oh my God, voy a sufrir mucho porque no fui por esa oportunidad. Y me va a demorar otros 10 años para coger otro. Not necessarily. And if I look at you, por ejemplo, and I look at Stephanie, you both graduated in law?
No, so I'm studying medicine.
Okay, you studied medicine.
Yeah.
But again, you both did something you both loved and you're both excelling at it. But again, si no se hubiera dado esa oportunidad ustedes mismos, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
Sí, o sea, yo lo que creo que estoy totalmente de acuerdo, ¿no?, con lo que dices. Yo lo que pienso es que it's true, you know, there are opportunities that sometimes se pasan y es difícil inicialmente uno aceptar eso. Sí es difícil porque uno como que dice, oh, man, I should have done more. ¿Cómo lo pude haber dejado pasar? Eso es verdad. Pero lo que sí también es verdad es que how many of us have really been able to be successful at our first attempt? Honestly, I haven't. A mí o sea, digamos, yo ahorita estoy I'm in medical school, right? Pero for me to get in, it took me 3 times to get in. It took me 3 years consecutively to wait to get in. And so I got in when I was 27. But before I got into medical school, I went to uni for something else. Apliqué a cuantos trabajos, no me aceptaban. It's literally been, for me, I think the thing que puedo decir que sort of describes the journey for me has been fail, continue. Perseverance. No tanto es talento, no tanto es, sino que es how resilient can you be. Y a veces uno toca, you know what, I missed the opportunity, let me go again. Let me go again. And the majority of people that you ask, the majority of them will say it wasn't on their first go that it was successful. It took a while, it took time. But that doesn't mean it's not for you necessarily. It just means that maybe no era el tiempo. Maybe you weren't prepared for it. Maybe quizás había algo mejor para ti en ese momento. Hay tantas razones. The only important thing is that you don't let it define you. You don't let it push you down. You know, you just pick yourself up and say, okay, what can I do better? And then just go again. Y yo creo que eso es un mensaje importante para que la gente no se sienta, you know, como deprimidos. No, I didn't do it. I could have done so much more. As long as you've got life, there's always an opportunity for you to do
100%.
better.
100%. If we go back to the BLN and the podcast, because we both started during the pandemic, yo creo que, and this is just, again, my opinion, I could be absolutely wrong, pero yo creo que si los dos hubiéramos empezado antes de la pandemia, it wouldn't have gone so well for both of us, in the sense of, I think we hit the nail on the head at the perfect time. Con todo lo que estaba pasando, we gave a platform to people. En cambio, anteriormente, look at how many people were doing lives, look at how many people were doing podcasts, look at how many people were sharing it. It would have been something different, but how many people would have been interested in that different thing?
Of course.
So I think when you started it, that's why you blew up so quickly, because actually there was nothing like that before. And people were like, oh, actually, this is quite interesting. Let me actually look into it. when I started a year after you, DJ Will, who I love you, bro. DJ Will was speaking a lot about mental health. That wasn't being spoken about much before either.
Yeah.
And that's when I started speaking about mental health and actually telling my story a little bit. And I think people started to listen and be like, actually, I can relate to this. I can speak up.
Yeah.
But I think if we had done it beforehand, it wouldn't have mattered how many times we did a live, how many times we posted an episode on our Instagrams. La gente no le hubiera importado. La gente would be like, this is just another post. This is just another story.
Yeah.
Let's, skip it.
Yeah.
And let's look at more entertaining stuff.
Yeah.
But cuando pegó la pandemia, ahí sí todo el mundo, let's watch this, let's watch the IG lives, let's get entertained.
Yeah. No, it's true. The thing is, man, like, I think everything really is timing,
Yeah.
Timing. Like, for me, so through my own experience, I've realized timing is super important. But sort of as a sort of personal experience also is like, so I'm a massive boxing fan, right?
Yeah.
And one of the most important things in boxing is timing.
Yeah.
You can be fast, you can be strong, but if you're able to time people at certain moments, it changes everything. And I've seen that like in my own personal life as well. Everything is timing. Like if you're able to, even companies, they time their exit when they're going to sort of sell, or investors when they're going to buy, people when they're going to start a business. Everything is timing. Yeah. And like you said, it may have not, it probably wouldn't have actually kicked off the way it did. And so, no, it's important. Now that the key thing, the actual challenge then is, after you've grabbed everyone's attention,
that consistency.
Now how do you, exactly. And so that requires a lot of planning, a lot of power, a lot of...
That's difficult.
Sobre todo, yo creo que realmente, even as a personal reflection for me as well, sort of being open, is that persistency.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. And I think that's something that, personally, with the BLN, I've sort of reflected upon as well. And I think it's important. Resiliency is important. So, and persistence, sorry. Yeah.
Digo que es difícil. O sea, when you're hitting the high numbers, because I've been there, you hit those high numbers, and then you see that dip, and you're like, ¿cómo voy a mejorar esto? Eso es literal lo que estaba haciendo los últimos 6 meses. And you see that dip, and you're like,
what's good?
Yeah. And it's hard to be consistent after that, and it's hard to be like, actually, let me carry on.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to want to carry on after you see that initial dip.
Yeah.
Pero again, don't be disheartened porque it's just algorithm. Puede ser que la misma gente no esté...
They're not even seeing it. Because it's not even being recommended. Yeah.
It's not being recommended. And this is something that I learned from Joanne, actually. And it's, don't worry so much about numbers. Don't worry so much about the algorithm. Just post great content and eventually it'll be back on top.
Yeah. That's true.
Y es algo que yo siempre llevo en la mente. Like, por ejemplo, yesterday I posted a clip and it did really well on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then TikTok, 16 views. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I had something similar happen actually as well.
Yeah. And it annoyed me because I was like, I'm doing the exact same thing. But again, I posted again this morning, on Hora Diferente, back up with the views. And it isn't just about being consistent and being persistent, pero usted tiene que pensar, actually, what do people want to watch and what do they want to hear, how can they relate. Todo es un juego mental. And yeah, I think you just got to enjoy it. You can't worry too much about lo que la gente diga, lo que la gente piensa, the hate comments. Eso todo viene con...
Everything, it comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you can't be disheartened. You just have to just carry on. And I think also just remember why you're doing it. I think it's easy sometimes to forget why.
Definitely.
Which is weird because it shouldn't. That shouldn't be a thing, but you sort of you forget because I don't know. I think with time things sort of just become maybe repetitive, and you sort of kind of forget why. But I think it's also important for us to remind ourselves.
Yeah. And to be fair, I've been there. I've been with forgetting why you started something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my Instagram followers will tell you I completely lost myself in the 2023.
Okay.
With my posts and my content. Porque yo le perdí mucha pasión a eso. O sea, yo lo hacía por mantener mi estatus de consistencia and motivational speaker. Y por tener los likes and the comments, and I was like, yeah. Pero yo me perdí, o sea, yo vi un momento that I was like, why am I posting? Am I posting for likes, or am I posting because the content means a lot to me?
Yeah, because you believe in the content. Yeah.
Igual pasó con los IG lives. Am I going on live to speak to someone because I enjoy it, or am I going live por costumbre?
Just to say I'm live.
Yeah, so for me, I think this is the most consistent I've been. This is like the most happiest I've been. Y puede que no vaya a durar mucho, puede que sí, no sé. But right now, I'm just enjoying the journey and I'm seeing what happens.
Yeah. No, I think that's important. I think eso es lo más importante, es disfrutar el momento, disfrutar todo lo que se puede hacer, everything. Like, there's something that my dad always says. He always says, like, every moment, no matter how big or small, once it's gone, it's gone. Like, you can't replicate it. Even if you try your best to try and make all the conditions the same, se fue. So what you can do is just try and make the most out of every moment that you have, And I think also similar to you is, tenerle pasión a las cosas y disfrutarlo. Yo creo que esa es la mejor manera de hacerlo, ¿no? Disfrutarlo. Y and I think it se nota. You're able to see it through the job, through the work.
Yo creo que a pesar de los struggles que uno tenga, que a pesar de los obstáculos que se lo ponga, if you enjoy it, you'll find a way to overcome it 100%.
Yeah.
Por ejemplo, yo estoy ahora, with the podcast, I've had a lot of challenges, no shows, cancellation last minutes, people messaging me about 10 minutes before the podcast saying, Juan, I'm not going to make it. Juan, I'm somewhere else.
Yeah.
And for me, o sea, yo he tenido que perseverar and be like, actually, let me just do a solo.
Yeah.
Pero eso viene con el territory again.
Sí.
You've got to pull through. O sea, porque alguien le cancela, uno no puede decir, actually, you know what? No voy a hacer nada esta semana, voy a perder plata. I'm just going to lay back and chill.
Yeah.
Porque uno no va a aprender así, uno no va a... I could do that. I could literally have a cancellation and be like, you know what, I'm just going to go home. I'm not going to bother showing up. I'm not going to post out anything. I'm not going to mention anything on social media. Pero, again, consistency, perseverance. You've got to show up every week. No importa la situación, no importa qué pasa, you've got to show up. And that's what passion is. Yeah. It's you showing up.
Yeah, man, you're speaking to me, bro. You're speaking to me for what you're saying. No, I agree, man. I agree. Like, I think it's super important. I don't know, for me, like, there's certain areas of my life where I'm super perseverant. Like, in my studies or my work, like I'm on it. Every day, hours and hours, cansado, con hambre, lo que sea, I'm there. Like, you'll find me where I need to be, I'm there. I think with side projects or projects que quizás you're sort of working on your own extracurricularly, I think those are things that I definitely take from, especially from what you're saying now, things that I've also reflected on, but even more so, I feel encouraged by what you're saying as well, because it's a important reminder, It's, at the end of the day, it's on us sea lo que sea, like you said, if the likes or the engagement is there or it isn't, it's on us to, at the end of the day, show up and do what we got to do. So, no, you're speaking to me, bro.
Definitely, bro. Yeah, bro. I think, like I said, I'm excited for the BLN to start coming back.
Yeah.
Being more active.
Yeah.
The podcast, I'll definitely be more in tune, seeing what you do.
Of course.
Are you gonna have a studio now?
So so we've luckily got a meeting space.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a studio, but it's like a meeting room. It's pretty nice. The setup will be nice. Yeah. And we're also expecting you as well.
Whenever you want me, bro.
As we spoke, we're also expecting you.
Whenever you want me, bro, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what you do. I'm excited to network a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think for me it was always about networking with different people.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, I'm excited to see what you do. Good luck in medical school.
Thank you.
You're gonna kill it, bro.
Thank you, bro.
And yeah, I think it's just a thing of now persevering, being consistent, and showing up.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm also excited with what will happen with your podcast, your platform as well. I think, like I said from the get go, I've always enjoyed it, and I think it's always brought valuable content.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I encourage you also. There's a lot of power through the messages that you spread, and the people you speak to. So I appreciate it a lot. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, bro.
And for everyone who wants to sort of follow the British Latino Network, luckily it's pretty easy for you to follow. You just literally search British Latino Network and it comes up.
Definitely.
So make sure to do that. And any suggestions or anything you want us to help out with, just send us a message.
100%.
And we're there.
100%.
Yeah.
You'll meet a lot of amazing people, such as Claudia, Dulcinea, Diego, a lot of the founders, a lot of the mentors who are amazing. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of them, and honestly, they are the most helpful people, the most kind-hearted and talented people I've met.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to go follow Diego, please go follow BLN. You will find it, British Latino Networking. The podcast as well, go follow. And thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for supporting.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye.